Welcome to Not Quite Right. My name's Ed.
And I'm Amanda.
Today we'll be possibly humiliating Amanda by discussing her teenage Hanson fanfiction, High Doses of Obsession. I can't wait.
I feel like I explained last time that it's an anti-fan fiction, but anyway, go on.
And we'll be talking about fanfiction in general. But first, Amanda, we forgot to celebrate our birthday.
We did.
So it's been 1 year of Not Quite Right, which was technically before the last episode released. But there can be quite a lag between the recording and the releasing of the episode.
Especially here at Not Quite Right.
Yeah, it takes quite a while to knock these random discussions into something that is listenable. So yeah, it didn't even cross my mind last time we spoke, but it's been a year. The first episode we released, which was called Citizen Train, we released on the 23rd of October in 2022.
Which is my daughter's birthday, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you should have remembered the birthday then.
I did. I remembered it well. I believe we wished each other happy birthday
That's
at the
true.
time.
That's true. We did, but it was after the episode was recorded.
Yeah.
All right. And so in that year, we've released 23 episodes.
We've really improved since then too. We've really learned a lot about
We're like pros now.
Yeah.
So in that time, we've released 23 episodes. That's if you count all the bonus episodes and all of the extra episodes, which is not too bad for what is theoretically a monthly podcast. Through that time, we've had listeners from over 30 countries. We checked the stats today. And we've done a lot in those 12 months. We covered the Words on the Waves Writers Festival last year and hope to do so again this year. That was a lot of fun. And the big one is that we ran the Not Quite Right prize, which was also a lot of fun.
It was. A lot of reading too,
A lot of reading. But, of course, we're doing it again in January.
Can't wait.
And we've had a great response so far.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think when we kicked this off, like we knew obviously from the first round when about 700 people entered that writing competitions are good fun and that we would get a good response. But not knowing as it's our first paid comp, you know, how that would go, we've actually been really pleasantly surprised by the take-up. But what's been more surprising, I think, is how many people have taken us up on the critique package. Yeah, so we decided to add as an optional extra, sort of last time we did it after the fact for personalised feedback. This time we've wrapped it up together and we thought maybe like 5 to 10% of people would be interested. And it's well over a third of the people who are entering so far are wanting that extra feedback. So clearly there's a need there. And we did get some lovely feedback ourselves last time from the people who did take us up on it last time that they got a lot out of it. So, yeah, hopefully we can, you know, help boost some people's flash fiction skill in the process.
Which is fantastic. But we have so far, as of recording this, no one has yet taken the leap and bought the Daredevil package.
I'm waiting for the day.
The Daredevil package is where we read and critique your story live, in quotes, on the podcast. So we're really looking forward to that, and we hope that at least one person or more snags that one.
I don't know. Would you do it if it was you?
I think you do have to be a bit of a daredevil, and you do have to be able to accept criticism. Like, it's not a roasting. We're not here to roast your story, but we're here to be honest.
Yeah, which may end up being a roasting, but that's really up to you.
That's right. But it's also an opportunity to get your story read on the show and have other people hear it. Which
exactly. You know what, though? I would fully do it because I think it's pretty cool to be able to have that opportunity. How often, unless you have your own podcast, which I know some of our listeners do have their own podcast where they read their own work. But yeah, to be read out, like a bit of a Radio National kind of situation. Exactly. I don't know. I think it's cool. I would totally do it. But and in fact, I'm about to totally do it, aren't I? Because you've read my...
Oh, that's right. We're literally about to do it.
You're going to critique me, so...
Well, look, we're not going to read all 50 or so pages of this work.
Unfortunately for all the listeners.
Unfortunately. But we may have it available on the website.
Yes, we're debating that.
We're talking about that, so we'll see.
There's just one problem. I did not check myself before I wrecked myself in this situation.
You didn't reread it, no.
No. I remember it fairly well, I think.
But I know you're reluctant to put this up on the website because you're still hoping to get the publishing deal out of your 1997 Hanson fanfiction. When was this written?
I'm still hoping to get the actual proposal from any of the Hansons.
Any of them. Well, your tone sure has changed since the Amanda character in the book.
That was a joke. It was a joke. Okay. God, take a joke, mate. We got an email actually from Joe Skinner, who made the long list in our first comp. she was telling us that actually a fair few of her writers group participated together in the comp last time, which is really cool. And that's kind of what we were doing previously.
Exactly. That's how we started getting together and writing.
Yeah, there might be a bit of a competitive spirit in there. I know there was with us too, kind of. But mostly it's supportive and reading each other's work and being able to have someone else to talk to about it as well, which is really cool.
And you can be both. You can be competitive and supportive.
Oh, totally. Yeah. That's exactly what we are. But yeah, so anyway, hi to Jo. And she's a member of the Brisbane Scribes Writers Group up in Vegas. But yeah, she's got her own website, which is joannaskinner.com. So JoAnna Skinner. She produces a newsletter actually called Running and Writing on her website, Joanna Skinner. We might put it in the show notes.
Yeah, we can put the links in there.
Which is a bit of an interesting combo. I actually love the name Running and Writing, but I think that's cool. As someone who never got my pen license.
I never got mine.
Never got your pen license. Oh my God, we're out here just unlicensed. Oh God. But yeah, so anyway, if you're interested in that, she's a runner, she's a writer, and she's a GP too. So it's a bit of a combo of all those sorts of things, and it's quite good. So anyway, check that out. Yep. But yeah, if you do have a writers group or friends who get together, I hope people get together in actual humans interacting
in a real life setting,
in a physical environment.
They call that meatspace these days. It's a term I'm not.
Oh, gross!
I love that term.
Meatspace. That sounds like somewhere I should avoid.
Yeah, it's not
is that like a sausage fest or?
It has the same connotation, doesn't it?
It really does. Oh God, no thanks. I hope people do get together. Have some wine, get silly, have some fun with it. That'd be great.
And if you do, tell us about it.
Yes, please share your photos and stuff. I'd love to see. I mean, that's what we did. We just had way too much wine and got ridiculous, and then occasionally we might write a sentence.
Exactly.
You'd be like, all right, shut up, I'm writing now. Yeah. Oh, okay. And I'd just sit there and wait. But anyway, yes, I hope that spirit of competition and community and whatever, great. That'd be wonderful in your meat space.
In your meat space. Just choose a different name for it. Don't call your writers group meat space.
Please.
Each episode, Amanda and I take turns recommending each other books or movies that we may not have chosen for ourselves. It's a segment we call Get Wrecked. And this week is a book that I would never have chosen for myself.
Rude.
Because it's not available in bookstores or in libraries. There's only a single copy of it that exists.
Yet.
There's a book deal on the table somewhere, I'm sure. So the novel, let's call it.
Novella.
The novella is called High Doses of Obsession. So let's intro this first.
Oh, please.
Tell me all about it. Where did this book come from?
It came from my heart. And my loins. No, just the heart. I guess, what was I, 14 when I started writing it? Something like that. And I was bored. Back then I had nothing better to do. This is it's internet days, but it's pre-TikTok days, let's put it that way. So I had to amuse myself, basically. At this time, there were a few fan fictions going off online, and you would download them and read these fan fictions, and there were Hanson fan fictions. And I'm not a massive Hanson fan. I am a Hanson fan, but not a Hanson fan, if you know what I mean. And so my friends were, and I wrote this to amuse them, basically, because I had heaps of time to do that.
And so was this the first thing that you've written, or were you a writer before, apart from your diaries, which we read on the last episode?
That's where I learned about drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would write bits and pieces here and there and stuff, but that was my first book, and it's a book. I finished it. I've been bloody riding high off that ever since. I finished that thing. So that was a big achievement. And I had other friends who were writing at the same time. So it was kind of like a bit of a fun community activity. So every now and then one of us would bring a chapter in and we'd read it. And I'm not going to say the name of a specific
we will protect the innocent in this episode.
Well, innocent?
A few people have asked for the names to be redacted, so we've been talking about putting this up online, and we'll try to do that, but we will need to redact certain names who do not want to be associated with, presumably, you or Hanson.
Yeah, actually, I thought it was just the Hanson thing, but now that you mention it, maybe it's the other. But, back then they were associating with it, I tell you that. They're big fans. So it was good fun, basically. And I have said it's like an anti-fan fiction because and you will, now that you've read it, you didn't believe me, but it's incredibly sarcastic, right? And basically trying to roast my friends and how much they were in love with Hanson.
Yeah.
But at the same time, still completely being a fan fiction as well.
No, so look, there is on that, there is a character. There's an Amanda character in this, and she has your first name, but not your last name.
She may or may not be based on me.
No,
exactly.
but she's clearly you. She's 100% you.
What name did I give her? What's the name?
Oh, God, I can't remember her last name. It's mentioned a few times, but it wasn't your last name. I was going to ask you about that, actually. But, you've said that it's a anti-fan fiction and you're not a true Hanson fan. There's a lot of denial going on. And there wasn't a lot of denial going on in this book as well. So the Amanda character is very aloof and she's very above it all. Everyone loves Hanson, but not her. No, not her.
The one who wrote the fucking
She
book.
goes along with it. She's there.
What are you saying?
So, of course, one of the Hansons, Isaac, I believe, falls in love with you. But
As if you wouldn't.
and
Not with me. Excuse me, not with me. With Amanda, the character.
yeah, that's right.
Whose surname is not
who's a completely different person.
completely. Hang on, pause. I'm just wondering what the surname is because I think it actually matters. I wouldn't just call myself any surname. It's not Smith, right?
Yeah, here it is. Amanda Thorpe.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it wasn't a coincidence. Yeah, that's a very intentional surname there. That's not just picked out of a name generator online.
Okay.
Because I had a fairly offensively massive crush on Ian Thorpe, the swimmer.
Oh my God. Was it reciprocated?
Oh, well, had he met me, things for him might have been different
That's
now.
right. Just as they were for Isaac Hanson.
Exactly. I mean, he might not have gone into the pearl business and, things could be different. Anyway, my Hotmail was Amanda Thorpe.
Oh my God.
Seriously. I was obsessed. I should have written an Ian Thorpe fanfic.
Yeah,
That's
that
what I
could have
should
been
have done.
something.
That would have been very raunchy.
Can't distance yourself from that one. He falls in love with me, but like whatever. I acknowledge that he's like really hot and
Obsessed
famous, but at the same time, I've got other stuff on that I'm doing with my life.
Super busy. Super
These are
busy.
the vibes that Amanda puts out.
I have to say, actually, my mum rang me after our last episode went live. Just
And
to
said, what the fuck are you doing?
No. She rang me just to say how happy she was at how hard you'd roasted me. She's like, oh, that was pretty funny. And then went on to describe how amused she was by basically me being raked over the coals. Love you, Mum. Carry on. Now that we've established the main character and her real
That's right, the real main
passion.
character, because the purported protagonist is your friend Rachel,
Yes.
right? And and the book is about her.
Yeah.
But you do take over a little bit in some point, some parts. It's kind of, I think,
doesn't
equally
sound like me.
It's equally about you and about her.
Come to think of it, maybe it's a fan fiction about Rachel. I think it might be.
And so your friend Rachel, she's the Hanson lover,
Yes. One off. Yes.
and she still is to this day.
She very much is to this day. She's in a committed relationship, but I'm sorry, Tim, you'd be
I've
dropped
read
like
the
a
book.
hot potato, mate.
She is in a committed relationship with Taylor Hanson. They have 16 children together.
Do they really?
Well, they have several. I can't remember how many exactly. It was at least 6.
I just want to shout out. I just want to say hi to Rachel, hi to Natalie, and hi to Redacted. And, I hope after this you put on a lovely, Hanson Christmas album or something and enjoy it. Snowed in. Enjoy.
All right, so I think we should give a little bit of a plot synopsis, maybe a little bit of a walkthrough of what happens in this
Should we?
novella. Because sometimes we talk about books and movies with the assumption that people may have seen them already.
And in this case.
In this case, we know that they haven't, although we will try and put it on the website. So if it is on there, you can check your little podcast app and there will be a link. If there's no link, it means that something's gone wrong and we can't do it. Maybe there's a cease and desist for your
there is.
redacted
Maybe I've got some vague publishing news about it and I have to just vague tweet about it. Like, I've got some news, can't tell you what it is, but I can't put it up online. Yep. And the news is, next thing you know, you're getting a wedding invitation for me and Isaac Hanson.
Because he found it online and he's like, I've got to meet this girl.
You know, ultimately, like, that is the objective of any fan fiction. It's like,
no, that's
please.
True. Because you know all of these celebrities are just reading their own fan.
I'm sorry,
a celebrity,
I
would
fully
you?
fucking would. Would you not?
Yeah, I think so.
Although, okay, in preparation for this episode, I was looking into fan fiction a little bit, and there was like some dark site that was talking about like Hanson fan fiction, but it was going into like all this incest stuff, which is just with the Hansons.
It's 2023. I mean,
what does that mean? Like, it's not acceptable, or it is acceptable in 2023?
Everything's been done, and once everything's been done, you've got to like level. Go to the edges.
Well, I'm not sure that this was even recent. Like, this is probably extremely old stuff. But anyway, I'm like, okay, so that stuff I don't think I would be reading. If it was me, even out of curiosity, I think I would draw the line and be like, I don't think I need to read that. Yeah. But yeah, why wouldn't you? You're having a bad day? Come on. That's like massive ego boost, surely. Yeah. Or not. Maybe you're like, oh my God, my fans are illiterate or whatever.
Yeah, because, you know, celebrities say things like, I don't Google myself and I don't look up rumors about myself. And I think, like, if you were a celebrity, though, that's probably true.
Because you'd have so much hate.
Yeah, you don't want to expose yourself to all of that stuff. So you probably avoid reading fan fiction and going on fan sites and things, because you might read something that once you've read it, you just can't forget it.
Once you've read it, it might end your marriage.
That's right.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I wonder if I feel like I would to some extent. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be absolutely scraping the internet for every single thing that was written, but certainly if something passed my way, I reckon, how could you not? It's curiosity.
Yeah. So let's talk about high doses of obsession, and just remind us, where does the title come from?
So there was another fan fiction written by someone I don't know, but it was called High Doses of Hanson, and that was coming out at around that time. It was quite popular. Like, I wish I had some stats on it, but I'm sure like this was pre-Wattpad or whatever, but it would have had a lot of people reading it.
And what year are we talking? Well, this is year 2000, right? It says 2K on that.
Okay, so that's when I finished it, and I would have finished it as a gift for her 16th birthday.
Yeah.
But I think I probably started writing it when I was about 14, realistically, which is basically sort of when we became good friends.
Yeah.
So I think I was probably writing it for a while, and like, it might be weeks or months go, and then I'd bring a new chapter to school.
And there are actually no chapters in this. It is one.
Isn't it? Oh,
it's God. One chapter. It's one big long story. One big long screed. Like
manifesto.
But really, it is the story of Rachel, and it is the story of Rachel's dreams coming true. And it opens, you're at school together, and Rachel has entered a competition to go and meet Hanson on their visit to Australia. And it gets right into the action, which I like, straight into it. And she wins the competition on like page 2 or 3. And of course, everyone's excited. And she's thrilled. All of her Hanson friends are thrilled. The Amanda character is, of course, above it all. She's thrilled on Rachel's behalf, but she doesn't really care about Hanson. She doesn't really want anything to do with them. And meanwhile, all of Rachel's friends are fighting over who gets to go with Rachel to meet Hanson.
So at this point, I'd just like to point out that you are above me being in love with Hanson. So where are you at?
I'm not in the story.
The one who you knew all their names last time we were talking about it.
Stop trying to deflect.
Oh, okay.
So in the end, Rachel decides to invite you along.
Why wouldn't you?
Maybe it has something to do with the fact that you're not competing with her. You're not in any kind of competition with her to see who can get Taylor, because that's her mission here. Is she wants to hook up with Taylor.
Yeah.
So you both travel to the hotel where it all kind of takes place. Did you remember what happens in this?
I'm experiencing such a wave of regret right now. It's like washing over me. It's fine, and then just,
oh my God.
Drowning.
Do you remember what you wrote in here?
I remember it well. Yeah.
It's not. There's nothing terrible in here, as you know. So you travel to the hotel in order to go to the concert where you're going to meet Hanson, right? But when you get to the hotel, you decide to go for a little swim. And leave Rachel in her room. So you're bored.
I would do that. That tracks. Yeah. I would totally do that.
So you go for a swim. And who should you meet in the swimming pool?
Who could it be?
But the entire Hanson family. So this is without Rachel's knowledge. Instead of like letting Rachel know, hey, come down to the pool.
We didn't have phones, I'd like to point out. It's not like I was texting it, like
no, but you were in the hotel pool.
I was
and
probably
she
wet.
was in the hotel.
What am I going to do? Go get her.
So you're all having fun in the pool and you know who they are, but like, you know, you're not going to let that get to you. You're just going to play it cool. And so you engage in some sort of water game. I can't remember what the game was. Water polo or something like that.
Marco Polo or something?
Something like that.
Okay.
And of course you're competitive and you are on, I think you're on Isaac's team and you win. Mm-hmm. You play for 2 hours. It's called, you play
2 hours?
2 hours in the pool.
Croony.
With the Hanson family playing this water game and you win.
Okay.
Of course.
Naturally. This is like, I'm writing it. I get to win.
and in the course of 2 hours, Isaac Hanson falls in love with you.
Why did you say it like that? Like as if it
you
was
said it like that.
Literally, quote for quote, like, in the course of 2 hours.
Well, I think you describe it something like he's never seen such an amazing, beautiful and talented girl in his whole life. And
piss off. I did not say that. I might have.
It's actually not far off.
Is it between the lines or is it?
I don't think it's that far between the lines. I think it's on the lines.
Okay.
So you return to the hotel room and you don't mention anything to Rachel because you don't want to. No, because you don't want to get her upset that you've had this experience with Hanson.
Yeah.
Because it's her dream and you don't care about them at all. So you're just like, whatever.
What a bitch. Sorry, Rachel.
No, but you're looking out for her feelings.
Okay. All right.
And I think it comes out later and I think she's cool with it. You know, but whatever.
She would be.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, she's cool about a lot of things. There's one thing she's not cool about.
What's that one thing?
Hanson.
Okay. So I thought there was something in your past that you're about to confess.
No,
I think she's cool with it because of what happens next.
Yeah, right.
So you meet backstage and you're introduced to Hanson and of course they remember you because they spent 2 hours in the pool with you just the day before or earlier that day even. I can't remember the chronology of it. And Isaac is like, wow, I thought I was never going to see you again and this is amazing and now we can be together. And meanwhile, Taylor catches sight of Rachel.
Yeah.
And Taylor, in this story, has never had a girlfriend and has never really expressed much of an interest in girls, which has worried the other brothers a little bit.
Oh.
And so they were pleased, like, oh, finally. He's finally found a girl that he's into and it's Rachel. And they...
At 14 years old or whatever he was.
Yeah. They just... They hit it off. They're making out in the limo.
Oh, geez.
It's
actually, I do recall that.
It's on. Everyone falls in love instantly. So Taylor,
they're 14.
Taylor falls in love with Rachel, who's never met anyone like her. Isaac falls in love with you, or Amanda.
Sorry, Amanda Thorpe.
Amanda Thorpe. But you're not really reciprocating that. You're keeping him at arm's length, and you're chatting with Zach, who is the little brother, and you're just like kind of chatting with him and being friends and being too cool for Isaac. Like the rest of the story, past that, I think it's kind of just antics around this relationship. So it's a bit of a fling.
What Blake Snyder would call fun and games.
There's a little bit of like a comedy of errors thing happening here and shenanigans are taking place in various locations. The following day after this, because of course everyone...
Is it hot in here? I'm just... sweating.
Everyone breaks for the evening and says their goodbyes and like, oh, you know, it's another case of we're never going to see each other again. Taylor and Rachel, there's talk of a long distance relationship and how can we make it work? Go back to the hotel and it turns out not only are they staying at the same hotel, but the entire floor of the hotel is empty because you can't just be Hanson on the same floor as all the plebs.
No.
Because you're going to get harassed.
You're going to get harassed by me.
But of course you would put the two biggest fans
the two biggest
same
liabilities.
on the same floor as Hanson, because that makes total sense.
Yeah. We won the competition, mate.
Yeah. And so Hanson get wind of this and they kind of break into the hotel room.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. And you're both in your pajamas. And
that wouldn't fly in 2023.
And Rachel's embarrassed about it, but you're cool with it because you don't care what they think. And it actually says that in there. You're like,
of course it does.
but Amanda doesn't really care what they think. Who is she trying to impress anyway?
True.
And then there's this whole thing where this comedy of errors situation where you fall asleep on a bed, but Isaac is there, and then people open the door and they find that you're in the same bed, and they're like, "Oh my God!" But you wake up and you didn't know he was there, and it's all. And he didn't know, but when he realizes, he's really excited. He's like, "Oh my God!"
How do we not know? What, were we hopped up on goofballs?
No, you got really tired. There's a whole explanation about how you were really tired because it'd been a long day, and then you just wanted to. I think Taylor was trying to get you out of the room.
No, I'm sorry I asked. No, it's fine. I'm sorry I asked. Move on.
Yeah, so an evening of interesting antics, and at some point Rachel's mum turns up, but everything is above board, like nothing, nothing sus happens.
No.
It's
no incest.
No, there's a fair amount of kissing, but it doesn't go any further. Mm-hmm. And basically, I mean, look, I'm going to cut to the end because it is a lot.
I actually have the meat sweats. Right. That is what I'm experiencing. That's the issue.
Yeah, so at the end of it, Rachel and Taylor agree to try a long distance relationship, at least until they're older and they can kind of take things to the next level. And Hugh and Isaac, I think that there is some sort of hookup at the end. I believe that you do.
Oh my God, that's the climax of the story, mate.
Yeah, sorry.
How did you miss that bit?
Yeah, okay, so tell me what happens.
Oh, well, it's kind of mean, so I don't know. Like, I don't know. What if he listens?
Oh, there's the eye thing. Yeah.
So he had a bit of like a lazy eye, right? Like a in the sense of one eye didn't open as much as the other. It's probably still the case, which again would not fly in 2023. Bringing this up, right? No, it is 2023, and I'm bringing it up. But like that was the thing we noticed about him. So basically, I can't get this out. Basically, in the climax of the story, me and Isaac kiss, and it cures his eye.
And so the other brothers comment, they're like, "What happened to your eye? It's fixed now."
I'm sorry, Isaac, if you're listening. No offense. This is why you don't Google yourself when you're a celebrity, because you hear shit like this.
Yeah. So after Amanda fixes Isaac's eye, sorry, they part ways.
Yeah,
they part ways. Then that's the end.
Thank God.
That's the end of the novel. They go back to America. Everyone lives their life, presumably, but there's an epilogue, and this is very much the Harry Potter epilogue, where at the end of Harry Potter, like it's 40 years later, and it just fills you in on what's happened and who's gotten together and their kids and things like that. So exactly, this is the same.
It's Harry Potter, essentially. Harry Potter. Where's my $1 billion?
So Rachel has hooked up with Taylor, and they have a bunch of kids. In fact, this is quite late. He's died at 85, and this is like
what was I on?
You went right to the end. You're like he died last week at 85. They had a long and happy life together. They had a bunch of kids, and it was wonderful. And what happened between yourself and Isaac? It was a brief fling, but he wasn't good enough for you, and so it couldn't last. But my favourite my favourite update is the one that we received about Zach. Zach was a character. After accepting his homosexuality in 2009, he had settled down to a more private life. This is the second last sentence. Well, the second last paragraph of the book is basically, "Oh yeah, and Zach was gay." But the last paragraph is quite nice. Rachel looked up from her nostalgia as her youngest great-grandson tumbled into the room. He climbed onto her lap, which had become quite used to the treatment. What are you doing now? Rachel inquired of the innocent boy. His small hands produced 2 bright yellow sticks. Me and Jacob and Greg are starting a band, he proclaimed loudly. We're going to be famous.
Aww.
So it all comes back around. It's a nice ending.
Yeah, did it move you to tears?
I'm still getting over the from Zach just randomly being gay at the end there. How old was he at the time? Like he was what?
Oh, he actually probably was my age. He probably was 14 or something like that.
That's right, because it was a few years after their debut. All right, so high doses of obsession.
So what would you give it out of 5?
I'll say it's the best fan fiction I've read.
And how many have you read?
This is the only one. But, it wasn't bad. Like, okay, so I'll tell you what's good about it is the sense of excitement in the story. Like, it's a pretty compelling story. You're clearly loving it, and everyone's loving it.
I thought I was aloof.
The Amanda character is aloof, but the narrator is bringing it all to life. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, it was interesting. Like, I read it. I didn't get bored. It had an arc. Mm. It had a strong opening, I think. Okay. Kind of threw you into the action, had a resolution.
So what you're saying is my story had a beginning, a middle and an end.
Beginning, middle and end. That was...
I'll just pat myself on the back. Thank you very much.
How do you feel about it now after...
I think it's hilarious. It brings me joy. It's completely stupid. But just honestly, the fact that I finished something still just brings me this sense of accomplishment, even though it was utter nonsense. And I did tell you this, so you know this already. There is a sequel.
Oh.
So over lockdown, I started...
Oh, a recent sequel, yeah.
Yeah, I started writing again.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me that.
Yeah. Over lockdown, bored, reigniting my Rachel fan fiction, started writing chapters and just posting them to her just for funsies. And it's an updated version. It's like the continuation of the story.
Between the story and the epilogue? Like what happened in...
Yeah. It's them in 2020. So I'm still that same person, and I don't know that the prose has gotten any better. and I have to say, in this case, there is a beginning, there is a middle, there is no end yet. So I might have gone backwards.
Well, something to look forward to.
But yeah, honestly, it's completely embarrassing, obviously, but also not. I'm proud of it. I'm proud I finished something, and it's ridiculous. But I was 14. What do you want?
Yeah, it's great for 14. I mean. It's up there with maybe Sylvia Plath. I think she wrote some great
Well, when I'm a famous author, you can go back to this and just roast me hard. But okay, the other, apart from high doses of obsession, the other extremely famous fan fiction that we've all heard of is
Twilight.
50 Shades of Grey. You're getting confused.
I'm getting confused because 50 Shades of Grey is Twilight fan fiction.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So I don't know. Have you read 50 Shades?
No.
I've read a page of it. I haven't read it yet. I obviously know what it's all about and everything. But I was in an airport once and I picked it up and started reading. It's, again, sorry if you're listening, E.L. James, it's not great. No. It's not great. And I don't know. High doses of obsession might be up there in terms of writing quality. I don't know. Certainly not in terms of readership and dollars, but
and she would have had an editor as well. If you gave this to someone and said edit it, that would fix the major problems.
But yeah, fan fiction can go places, and I think it gets a bad rap. It's all very well and good, and hi again to Redacted, who does not want to be associated with this whatsoever. But why? It's fun and it's really common.
Yeah.
I think maybe the thing that people cringe about is the situation that's what people get creative with, and sometimes maybe take it to places that are pretty cringy and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
My story there is pretty vanilla and tame. It's no 50 Shades, let's put it that way. So the original book that 50 Shades now is, it was called Master of the Universe. And the characters were Edward and Bella. Yeah. Right? And now it's Christian and Anna? Wait, is that it?
I don't know.
Something like that. Apparently, according to some, they ran it through some software to compare them, and they're 89% the same. So if you just take all the names out, and it's all the Cullens, they're gone, right? But a lot of the description remains, the familial relationships remain, but the actual characters themselves are given different names.
Yeah. And the sex dungeon wasn't in Twilight.
No, but it was in the Twilight fan fiction. This is the thing. It was. And in this world, Edward Cullen was a businessman. You know, it's not like a continuation. They weren't in school together. He was a businessman and whatever.
Oh, okay, so it's a whole fan fiction world that has kind of sprung out and developed separately to the original.
It's basically like put them in an adult scenario where he's, you know, they're not in school anymore. And that's gone on to be absolutely eaten up by a huge number of people. Like, love this story. So there's something to be said for it. I don't know.
Yeah. It is the exception though, isn't it? Like, there's not much other fan fiction you can point to that has had that kind of reach and that kind of popularity, or it could be that this is the only one that we know about. Maybe
well, that's
we'll find
the thing.
out.
I mean, there are others, but what springs to mind to me, again, out of my love of Karate Kid, but Cobra Kai, it's fucking fan fiction, mate. If you are a Karate Kid fan and you go and watch Cobra Kai, you know it is written by fans. It is not written by anyone casual. Like, they love it because they're passionate about it. So it's a fanfic. It's like, oh, what if Johnny was the protagonist? That's it. That's the premise. And basically any reboot is like a fanfic, right? Anytime someone comes along who wasn't the original writer and who then takes those characters and puts them in a new world, like, it's the same shit, is it not? Anyone who's written a Spider-Man movie fucking loves Spider-Man and wants to write a Spider-Man movie. That's what that is. So in essence, I feel like bloody Disney fanfic after fanfic.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I just want to also add, because I feel like it's important information, that when E.L. James originally wrote Master of the Universe, she did it under a pseudonym, which was Snow Queen Ice Dragon. Which is such an internet name generator name. Yeah. That you just, like, my mother-in-law today sent our family group chat this thing like, make your elf name for Christmas. It's that, right? Yeah. Snow Queen Ice Dragon. Anyway, good for her. She's a bajillionaire now. But I think the other thing too, and for me, certainly, it's I was going to say breeding ground, but that maybe is not the best choice of words. Hang on.
Meat
space. It's a place for young writers to find themselves. And like, you've got to start, like, you start by mimicking, right? When you don't know your own style and you don't know where to go yet. Like, my daughter now, she's writing basically fan fiction of Wings of Fire. So she's obsessed with the Wings of Fire graphic novels. She makes her own. Yeah. And they're amazing. They're friggin' amazing. But they're mimicking what she's seen. And it's not until she's mastered that she's going to move on to find her own niche and her own style, which I believe that she will.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And that is the case, not just for writing, but thinking about, filmmakers. You see young filmmakers in usually their first movie often has heavy influences from people that they've been influenced by. Musicians as well. I mean, grow up playing certain kinds of songs and mimicking styles and then developing their own styles. So it's
you've got to start somewhere. I don't think you can help it. Like, there's no way to be completely immune to your influences. Like, why do you become an artist? Because some other person's art made you feel passionate about it. And I think that's where that comes from. Like the book I'm writing now, for example, that's kind of a fan fiction still. I think about all the influences that have gone into it. We've talked about it before. It's the Goonies for girls. That's what I've said because I love the Goonies. I've used that as a massive influence in the story, like massive influence. It's not the Goonies, right? And never would be. I would never dare to think it is the Goonies, my God. But that's absolutely like the energy I was trying to channel, not to mention a million other influences. Like I can see in my own writing, there's Stephen King in there, there's Babysitter's Club in there. Yep. There's all of these things that have just come into this crazy melting pot.
There's Ando and Matthew McConaughey here and there.
They inserted themselves in there. And there's a little bit of the Amanda who wrote the fan fiction as well, like maybe a little bit of a lot of that. But I'm completely actually, like it's basically a love letter to Australian big things. That's what, like I'm obsessed with the kitsch Australian big things and it is my fan fiction to that. And I've been working on that for 10 years. Like that's passion, man. You got to have some passion about something. And speaking as someone who used to be a 14-year-old girl, if you could bottle that energy of being obsessed with stuff. Yeah. And that's where that creativity is like springing from. And it's the shit that makes you finish a book. Finish writing. Like you have to have that level of passion to actually bother to get to the end.
I think that's right. one of the challenges I think in writing and art in general, like if you're trying to chase that, trying to get that single-minded passion about something, it's a lot more accessible when it's something that you know and you love and you recognize, to be able to create that passion from scratch, to create that world that you are like really interested in and obsessed with out of your own head is very difficult.
The characters already exist. And and that's the other part of it. Certainly for my example here, there's a community aspect. People want to read it, not because of you as the writer, but because of the subject matter. Like they're obsessed with that and they'll bloody read anything if it's got their name on it. So you're with a community who's like also passionate about what you're doing, and that can be really rewarding as well. And certainly like in my case, like writing for friends who were so excited to read it, that's a really good feeling. Like, can you imagine any other topic I could have written about that would have had them like hanging out to like, no, they wanted to read about themselves in this fictional world. I was also listening to another podcast, which is The Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling. We talked about that, didn't we? Did you listen?
I have, yes.
You have. Like, this is another podcast, by the way, for those who haven't heard it. It's quite good. I would recommend it. It's quite interesting. And especially if you are interested in maybe the drama around J.K. Rowling now and the kinds of maybe cancelable things that she has said. And I certainly was. I've read her manifesto, inverted commas, and I'm interested in the topic. Anyway, this podcast, I think, handles it really, really well. So absolutely go listen if you're interested. But one of the things she talks about is how in the early days, she would go onto these fan forums where people were talking about Harry Potter and their theories, you know, and posting fan fiction and stuff like that. And she was saying that she'd go under a pseudonym, obviously, and even if she didn't, no one would believe it was her, so that's fine. But she was just going, just sort of lurking. And she said, like, people would have a theory, and I can't think of an example. Go listen to the podcast. I'm sure it covers it. But someone would propose a theory, and she'd be like, oh, no, I think, and she would say the accurate situation. And then they would just, like, boo her out of the forum for being so inaccurate and wrong about Harry Potter and how dare you. And she's the author.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people get so passionate about it. I think that's quite fascinating as well. The fact that she would go on these forums, and this is the thing, I do think these celebrities are curious enough to go and check it out. But imagine that. Yeah. Imagine you're the author, or imagine you're the celebrity. It's like one of those deep fake videos where like your face ends up on some, you know.
But I saw an interview with J.K. Rowling as well that was recorded just after I think she'd written but not yet published the second book, The Chamber of Secrets, where she talked about it was kind of early on in the Potter fandom as it was just kind of taking off, and she was newly like a celebrity, and she was talking about her history and her experience writing the book. And I would suggest anyone who's a writer to look up that interview and watch it, because it's fascinating to see what her process was and how she came to the thing. And going back to your point about being obsessed about something, she was clearly obsessed with Harry Potter, like this thing that she'd created. She said she'd been writing for, I think this is from memory, but I think she'd been writing for 10 years. Yeah. Not the novels, but just about Harry Potter, about the characters, about the places, just writing, creating this whole world until she got to the point where she would eventually write a novel. But she started
that is a plotter and a half.
Yeah, definitely. She was so obsessed with the whole world she'd created that that's how it kind of rose out of nothing. So I think obsession is really important.
I think it's essential. Like anybody who writes, like, it's not fun. Most of the time it is a slog. It's painful. It's torturous. Like, even if you're successful to finish a book, then it's the query stage and you just want to throw yourself off a cliff. And a lot of writers like fully have thrown themselves off cliffs or like walked into rivers or lakes with
pebbles in there.
Rocks in their pockets. Like it's hard. And so you have to be obsessed. And speaking for myself and my books, you know, that I've been working on for over 10 years, like, why am I doing that? Because I really love it. And no one's going to love it as much as me. Yeah. But someone else only has to spend 2 hours reading it. Yeah. I've spent 10 years writing it, you know, so that care factor definitely has to be there to some degree.
Yeah. You can never really write for someone else. I think you have to always find that purpose within yourself. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
100%. And that's what makes all the writing special. And I think that probably is the best advice for writers is, not that write what you know bullshit, but write what you're obsessed about because only you are going to be able to convey that. And if what you're obsessed about is already a piece of art that exists, then you can just riff on that and make something new from that. Like we've talked about reboots and things. I just forced my children to watch Mighty Ducks last night. There's like a Mighty Ducks reboot. Like if you love something enough, you can create something new out of what's already there.
So I think we were joking before we started recording that we're not going to find any great overarching themes in your fan fiction, but I think the theme is high doses of obsession are needed when you're writing.
100% with Amanda.
And with J.K. Rowling and with E.L. James.
But I was thinking about too, like, Game of Thrones, right? Like famously not finished.
Yeah.
Right? Famously. Yes. But like the TV series went on to have a season beyond what the books had.
Yeah.
Is that not fan fiction?
Yeah, it's a kind of fan fiction. I think there are lots of shows like that.
Is it fan fiction or is it like, I want money?
Yeah. I mean, but I think from my understanding of that show, like when they started it, they had expected it to be finished by the time they got there, but he just never... He didn't cooperate.
He's just chilling.
He's chilling. He's loving life.
Chilling like a villain.
Right. He's lost his obsession. Low doses of obsession. He's too old. But I think there are lots of TV shows like that as well. The other one I'm thinking of is Handmaid's Tale, which was the season 1 was the Margaret Atwood novel. And then they just took it from there on for another 5 or 6 seasons.
Completely jumped over the shark. They cleared it.
They jumped it. I'm still watching it. I want to see what happens, basically. But they've been kind of languishing in like, where the hell are we going for quite a while?
Oh, God. What? Okay, question. Hark back now to when you were 14. What were you obsessed with? What would you have written a fanfic about?
I was going to say Star Trek maybe. And then I remembered that when I was 15...
You did write a Star Trek.
I didn't write a Star Trek, but we made a short movie. We made about a 15-minute movie.
And you're wrecking it to me.
It's on I believe I've got it still on an 8mm
Holy
tape.
shit.
But it's... I don't know if it...
We don't know how to get it off that into...
And I don't even know where it is. But no, me and some friends one day, we...
Oh, you had friends?
You get really nice when you drink.
You have just been fucking roasting me for the past 2 hours.
This roasts itself. So here's what we did. We went to the newsagent or whatever it was back in those days, and we bought like a black piece of cardboard, a big black piece of cardboard, and put little pinholes in it.
Okay.
And
that's the stars?
Sticky tape that up against the window, and that was the stars.
Oh.
And then we had a little enterprise, effects. and we had little sets and stuff, and
Amazing.
We did the voice and things. I remember the first half of it being pretty good.
Okay.
And then we kind of lost interest in and one of the guys kind of just wrapped it up and it was a bit shit. But the first part was good and we had some good little special effects and it was quite fun. So I remember editing it with 2 VCRs. So we copied the tape. Yeah, we copied the tape because I didn't know editing equipment. There was no computers.
You got to press pause and record at the same time or whatever it is, the combo.
Yeah, so we taped the whole thing onto a VHS tape and then we had the blank one there. And so I would cue up the bit and then play record at the same time and record that and stop and then go to the next bit and just edited it with a VCR.
That would have taken forever.
It was only a 10-minute movie. Okay. Like it was pretty short. So I did make a Star Trek fan fiction.
Yay! We've all got our little secrets, our skeleton in the closet.
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that one.
There you go.
All right, it's my turn to recommend something back to you. And my recommendation is a short story by James Joyce called The Dead.
Called Ulysses. No.
It's just a little story. It's called The Dead, and it is the last and the longest short story in Dubliners.
I didn't actually know that was a short story collection, so I've just had my mind blown there. I didn't know it was capable of anything as short, to be honest with you.
They're regarded as some of the best short stories and particularly groundbreaking in, modernizing the short story, I guess. I have read this collection some time ago. It's been many years.
So basically you're hoping I can just refresh your memory. Is that what this is
Yeah, so
about?
let's read it again together. And the thing about this is it's a Christmas story. Christmas, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
So I've heard.
And it's coming up to Christmas. So we'll probably end up talking about this in January and maybe
as
later.
we speak, Mariah Carey is defrosting.
That's right. And yeah, let's see. Like, I'll be interested to see, like, do we agree with the hype around James Joyce as a writer of short stories? And let's see, if this is in fact one of the greatest short stories of all time.
Oh,
it is.
jeez. All right.
Well, no,
is that what we're dealing with
It tops lists. It tops like greatest short story lists.
Right.
So let's see. It was written almost 100 years ago.
Am I
Like, does
allowed
it
to be
hold up?
aloof about it or not?
No one hooks up in a limo in this one, but
Then I don't want to know about it.
falls in love in a pool.
Boring. Well, no. Before we, sorry, are you telling me you think it's the best story?
That's what we're here to find out.
Ooh.
And that about wraps it up. We'll be back in about a month to talk about James Joyce and the dead and to read your Not Quite Right prize entries, which we're very much looking forward to in January.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
And until then, ride on.
Right on.
Thank you for listening to Not Quite Right. If you'd like to reach us via email or follow us on social media, you can find all the links on our website, notquiterightpodcast.com. That's WRITE. And if you enjoyed the show, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcasting app.
Something doesn't seem quite right.
So weirdly, our demographics, number one, by a long shot, is Australia. We've got the most listeners in Australia, followed by the United States.
Sorry, that's a personal joke that I should not be saying. I
was going to say, is that a phrase I have not?
No, it's actually not a personal joke if you're a fan of Carl Barron.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay. I'm a fan of Carl Barron.
Great. But you're still not with me there?
I haven't memorised his complete works, but to our American listeners, get a dog up here.
What for?
What kind of dog?
Oh, my God. Oh, God, I'm sweating. It's all that talk of meatspace. Do you ever just get the meat sweats? Do you ever get the meat sweats? You eat too much
When you eat
meat.
too much meat, yeah.
It's not so much the quality as the quantity, if you know what I'm saying. Oh, God. Oh, it's too hot in here. I've lost it. I've lost the plot.